What's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and I have another 3TR Tops list for you to share for you guys today. Now, last night they had the Tokyo Game Show pre-show, convention or event, whatever you want to call it, and basically they were just kind of rehashing about 80% of all the E3 announcements that we had a couple of months back, and they had a couple of new announcements. I don't think they really announced anything that we didn't already know was coming out, but one of the games that they did confirm from Capcom was Resident Evil Revelations 2, and I feel like I need to share the top 5 things that I would like to see in the next Revelations game. So starting off real simple with number 5. In terms of where this game takes place, I actually would like to see it take place after Resident Evil 6 to set up the events for Resident Evil 7. A lot of people I've been talking to said that they wanted to have it take place before 6, but the problem with that is that the whole concept of Revelation is to bring light to something that we don't quite understand. I mean, the whole point of Revelations was kind of just to show what Jill and Chris were doing before their encounter with Wesker in the Spencer Mansion. So I think this is a really great opportunity that now that we've kind of dealt with the C virus in Resident Evil 6, why don't we spread some light into what the next big threat is going to be. So that's why I would like to have it take place after Resident Evil 6. Going on into Resident Evil 4 is something that I have faith that they'll not add, but you know, anything's possible. And that is, I do not want them to add gun-wielding enemies. Now, if you played Resident Evil 6, you know how terrible that came out. But here's another thing. Not to completely, diss on Resident Evil 6. If they're going to do it, I would hope that they would keep very close to Leon's campaign. Because regardless of how you feel about this game, you have to admit that Leon's campaign was by far the best. And it definitely felt like a Resident Evil game. Because pretty much throughout the entirety of his campaign, you really were just shooting zombies. You ran into a couple of zombies that had magnums or guns glued to their hands, and I guess that's kind of understandable because, even if a zombie was walking around with a gun glued to their hand, I guess they would be kind of firing rapidly, so, if they do something like that, I'm okay with it, but as long as they're not, gun-wielding enemies, I'll be perfectly fine. Because if you did play the first Revelation game, there were a couple of enemies that had projectile weapons, but it was kind of organic. It was something that they were firing from their body. So if they do use enemies like that, as long as they're not gun wielding, I'll be perfectly fine with that. Going on into number 3. Yeah, I gotta grab something. Going on into number 3 is something that, a lot of people kind of have been speculating if you've played Resident Evil 5, and that is, I would really like to see a Wesker teaser. Now, as we all know, Wesker supposedly died at the end of Resident Evil 5, but I really would like to see his presence, because although he wasn't really in Revelations and he really wasn't in Resident Evil 6, you could at least kind of sense his presence. There was something about Wesker that was still there, and maybe this could lead up to a story showing that maybe there's a possibility that Wesker survived, or something that Wesker did in the past has caused the current event that's going to take place in Revelations 2. So, you kind of have to keep Wesker in the story. He is the main antagonist of this franchise. I still think that he could kind of feel like the puppet master, kind of manipulating events even after his death. So the fact that if they can continue to use Wesker as a character, even if he's not directly involved, his actions have a great influence for the rest of the franchise, and maybe we could see a teaser of a possible return, which is something I really would like to see in a future Resident Evil game, so that's why I would really love to see a Wesker reference or a Wesker teaser. Now, going on into number 2 is something that a lot of us have really been wanting to see for a very, very long time, probably since Code Veronica, and I would like to see a return of Claire. Now, they stated at the conference that most of it was going to be new, but I think that you have to have an original character's presence just to kind of keep it Resident Evil. I don't really think you can make a Resident Evil game and have it be everything new. New environment, new enemies, new characters. You need someone from the original cast to be there. And a lot of us really want to see Claire, because let's be honest, we don't want to use Chris again, because we've used him 4 times in a row. We used him in 5, Revelations 1, and Resident Evil 6. So I don't want to use him again. I'm not sure if we want to use Jill again, because we could use Jill, but she was kind of in Revelations 1, 2, and we damn sure don't want to use Leon He was in 6. His character was the best. Let's not ruin that. So, bring back Claire. We haven't seen her since Code Veronica. Let's see what she's been really up to. And if you have been doing your research on Claire Redfield, you kind of would understand what she's been doing. And from what we saw from the little live-action teaser, it certainly does sound like something Claire would be involved in, because she's kind of working for this, like, relief group that kind of is just all over the world. So it is possible that some type of outbreak of a virus could happen around her location. And it would really be nice to see her in a leadership role. You could actually get a moment where it's like, yeah, you know, we've never actually had a female in the lead role, and Claire, you know, we can't call on any other character, and she has the most experience in a situation like this. She should take point. And I think that would be really, really cool to see her in a role like that and see her return back to form, because she is a Redfield, and, you know, Chris is kind of the poster boy of the franchise next to Leon. So that's why I really would like to see her return. And that takes me to number 1. Now, this is something that I've been talking about probably for like the past 2 years. It's something that I've wanted to see in a Resident Evil game since they've been doing this whole co-op gameplay scenario. And that is, I want to see a girl with girl team up. I did 3 whole videos talking about it. This is something I want to see in a future Resident Evil game. Preferably Resident Evil 7, but heck, this is a perfect opportunity to introduce that. Look, since we started using the whole co-op gameplay, we've always had a guy with girl team up. I think we've had guy with guy team up, but we've never had 2 girls team up. Why is that? I think the only time we've ever had an opportunity to try that is in the mercenary modes for both Resident Evils 5 and 6. But let's actually have a story campaign with 2 girls. What's wrong with that? I think that female characters in Resident Evil can kick just as much ass as the guys. So, you know, and the whole women empowerment is really on the rage right now if you were, like, saw Comic-Con. So, this is a perfect opportunity to introduce that gameplay element. So, again, have 2 girls team up. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's have a female lead Resident Evil game. There's nothing wrong with that. And that is why that is the number 1 thing that I really would like to see come out of Resident Evil Revelations 2. Now, if you like my list, feel free to comment and tell me what are some things that you would like to see in Resident Evil Revelations. And if you like this video, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to check me out my future videos. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.